Good day, citizens of Canada. Today, I would like to speak to you about the 2012 federal budget. Perhaps some of you are fully aware of what it consists of. Perhaps you are not. Allow me to take a few minutes of your time to give you an overview. You may have heard of cuts to CBC funding. Hubert Lacroix was quoted saying, "When we add up the reduction to our appropriation, unavoidable cost increases, and the investments that CBC/Radio Canada needs to make to ensure its continued transformation into a modern public broadcaster, we actually face financial pressures amounting to $200 million over the next 3 years." End quote. In addition to this, there is also approximately $25 million in severance expenses for the inevitable layoffs. Perhaps some of you think that this is good. One comment that I read said that the lazy executives do not deserve their large salaries. Perhaps that is correct, but is that really the reason for the cuts? Could it possibly be that the Conservatives do not appreciate CBC being an impartial news broadcaster? Unlike other media outlets who twist it and paint it so that the Conservatives and their actions seem favorable. Moving on to old age security. Important changes that Mr. Harper undoubtedly knew would meet a lot of opposition. Changes that would affect all of us Canadians, youth and senior alike, was first announced in another country. Then we were promised that the age of eligibility would not increase. But of course, as is Mr. Harper's habit, he broke that promise. The age of eligibility has been raised from 65 to 67. This may not sound like a big deal, but take the time to sit and really think of what impact this will have. Think of those with a physical disability or illness. Think of those with demanding jobs, physically and/or psychologically. Think of those who have a spouse or loved one to take care of. How many do you think would very much like to retire, but can't, because they can't afford it? Seniors with low income depend on these benefits, but will have to wait an additional 2 years to get them. Half of those earning a medium income will see their quality of life decrease significantly once they retire. Raised retirement age and reduced funding to old age security means older workers forced to stay in the workforce longer, keeping jobs away from the younger Canadians. Speaking of youth, the Canadian youth have an official unemployment rate twice as high as the national average, in addition to a high rate of underemployment. The Conservatives have also cut off funding to Caddy Mavic, a youth volunteer program, with the objective of exposing them to regional and cultural diversity and encouraging personal, social and professional development. Doesn't that make you all warm and fuzzy inside, seeing how much they care for young Canadians? Let us move on to another group of neglected citizens. The Conservatives set money aside for Aboriginal education, while cutting 2% from Aboriginal affairs. The 5.7% cut to Health Canada resulted in all the funding of National Aboriginal Health Organization being cut. Funding which amounted to a mere $4.4 million. The NAHO is set to close down on June 30th. And to sweeten the pot, the First Nations Statistical Institute will have half of its $5 million budget cut this year and completely eliminated next year. Next to Meet the Axe, the National Council of Welfare, and the National Roundtable on the Environment and the Economy, organizations that provide statistics and research to inform government decisions. They will also see their funding expire at the end of the fiscal year. Statistics Canada was ordered to reduce their spending by $33.9 million by 2014. These agencies didn't just provide information to the government, they provided it to the public as well. Foreign aid budgets will be slashed by $377 million from Canada's already choked aid budget over the next several years. That cut is part of a plan to, quote, improve the effectiveness of Canada's aid by strengthening its focus, improving efficiency, and increasing accountability, according to the federal budget document. This makes complete sense. Reducing the budget is absolutely the best way to improve efficiency. Further cuts include 19,200 federal jobs over 3 years, with more to come. 1,100 civilian jobs are to be cut from the Department of Defense. But there will be no layoffs for members of parliament. Fancy that. For a government supposedly tough on crime, their decision to cut $200 million from the RCMP's funding makes a lot of sense, wouldn't you say? And for being so pro-armament and pro-war, the $66.7 million cut to Veterans Affairs Canada also makes a lot of sense. Another big surprise are the measures being taken to weaken environmental laws, such as by cutting the funding of Fisheries and Oceans Canada and Environment Canada. Environmental assessments are meant to prevent problems and protect the health of humans and wildlife alike from water and air pollution. Fun fact, did you know that Mr. Harper has gone as far as saying that environmental activists and groups to be terrorists instigated by foreign radicals? Beware of these dangerous terrorists. Further proof that they have our interests at heart is the $131 million cut in housing spending over the next 3 years, along with an annual cut of $102.2 million in subsequent years. The federal homelessness program, in addition to other housing investments, are set to be terminated in 2014. Here is another little fun fact. 1.5 million households are amongst the most poorly housed Canadians. That's 1 in 8 households. 1 in 8. 3 million households are precariously housed, meaning they are in danger of becoming homeless because they have no place of their own to live or their current housing situation is tenuous. There was a research and policy report done by the Wellesley Institute called Precarious Housing in Canada, 2010. It showed that housing is one of the most important factors for a healthy life. But not to fret. The Conservatives care for the health of Canadians. That's why they cut the budget of food inspection agencies as well. Of course, with $25 billion scheduled to be spent on a new fleet of fighter jets, whose capabilities are being met with strong criticism, along with the $1 billion a year subsidies to the fossil fuel sector, it's no wonder they have to make such drastic cuts. Oh, pardon me, I forgot. The Conservatives consider this to be moderate cuts. Not draconian at all. Mr. Flaherty seems to have a different understanding of what these words mean. I think I have made it painfully obvious whose side the government is on. Instead of investing in clean, renewable energy, like solar or wind, they are encouraging the plundering of our land, the pollution of our air and water, and selling our forests. If they are not stopped, they will suck Canada dry of its every resource, until there is absolutely nothing left but a poor, homeless, hungry, sick population overlooked by the elite, an elite chortling to themselves as they wipe themselves with $100 bills. Your government does not care about you. You are pawns, cattle, gears in the machine to produce money they take away from you, and use to fill their own pockets, use to fulfill their own agendas, all the while telling you that it is for your own good. You may hear all this and be upset. You may even complain about it to your friends. But if that is the entirety of your involvement, this will not end. They count on your apathy. They count on your tired acceptance. If you do not stand up, they will only continue to walk all over you. Are you really going to let them? Starting from now, we must all stand together. We must let the government know that we will no longer be ignored. We must let them know that we are onto them, and they will not get away with this any longer. We are not pawns. We are not cattle. And it is high time Mr. Harper be reminded of that.